19th century London, the world's greatest city comes awakened. Imagine a city where, standing on a bridge, you can see an entire empire flowing before your eyes. Coal, timber, grain, goods, all traversing a single river. 19th century London was more than just a capital. It was the engine of a world booming with industry, commerce, and ambition. At the beginning of the 19th century, London swelled into the largest city the world had ever seen. By the middle of the century, its population had surpassed 1 million, and London had become the center of an empire that stretched across continents. But if we only see London as its magnificent structures, we miss something far more important. The machinery at its core, the river, the harbor, the streets, and the people who work themselves to exhaustion to keep this city breathing. In this video, I use modern AI tools to breathe movement into ancient paintings and engravings so we can walk through the scenes that Londoners saw nearly 2 centuries ago. Not to change history, but to do something simple, to help our eyes sense the rhythm of life distance, density, dust, sounds things that written words often cannot fully convey. The River of Thames, the lifeline of the empire. This is the River Thames in the mid-19th century, and it's not just a waterway, it's the main artery that feeds London, the driving force propelling the city forward and connecting it to the rest of the world. Along this river, everything moves. Coal from the north for furnaces and machinery, timber for construction, grain to feed the booming population, and industrial goods leaving London for markets throughout the empire. On both banks, the warehouse walls are blackened with soot. Cranes lift goods from ships onto the docks, where workers toil in shifts from dawn until dusk. Without the Thames, London could not have maintained this scale. The river is not just geography, it is the infrastructure, the economy, and the identity of the city. London Port, where wealth becomes tangible. This is the Port of London and its rapidly expanding dock systems throughout the 19th century. By the middle of the century, the London docks were among the busiest in the world, handling cargo from every corner of the British Empire and beyond. Ships arrived carrying tea from India, sugar from the Caribbean, cotton from America, spices from the East Indies, timber from Northern Europe. Then they departed laden with textiles, machinery, coal, industrial goods. Here, wealth ceased to be a concept. It transformed into crates, the smell of spices, bales of cloth, baskets of sugar, and the sweat of thousands of people. The docks here are so vast that each area is like a small city. West India Docks, London Docks, East India Docks, each a self-operating world of warehouses, wharves, and water basins. Thousands of people work there as stevedores, sailors, and porters. The work is hard, dangerous, and often poorly paid, but it never stops. Work streets, where the majority of Londons live. Leaving the riverbank, the streets tell a different story. The city grew too fast, its infrastructure failing to keep pace. Typical working-class neighborhoods have narrow, often unpaved streets, crowded with horse-drawn carriages, carts, and pedestrians. Multi-story boarding houses are crammed together. Families live crammed into a single room. Many households share a courtyard and water pump. Smoke hangs in the air constantly. Coal is burned for heating and running machinery, and the sky is tinged gray. Even on clear days, the smell is inescapable. Coal smoke mixed with sewage, decaying garbage, and industrial odors. Under these conditions, diseases spread rapidly. Outbreaks of cholera are not uncommon, especially in areas with poor sanitation. Overcrowding has made privacy virtually non-existent each day, a constant negotiation for space, for a place to live, but people adapt. Street vendors sell food, children play in the alleyways, neighbors rely on each other to survive. This isn't the London of etiquette and royal motorcades. This is where most of London truly lives. Victoria night. Gaslights, fog, and anxiety. In the 19th century, London began to change as night fell. Gas lamps spread throughout the city, making nighttime, for the first time in history, walkable. But London had another character in the night. Thick fog, mixed with cold smoke to form pea soupers, a suffocating mist that sometimes reduced visibility to just a few steps. Gas lamps allowed shops to stay open later, theaters and music halls to be crowded until late, and police patrols to be more effective. But the dark side persisted. Dangerous, dimly lit alleyways, and crime flourishing in the shadows between lampposts. Walking through London at night back then was both modern and eerie. Westminster and West End. Power and separation. This is Westminster, and the West End, the center of political power and the meeting place of the ruling class. The contrast with the industrial district is so stark, it's almost like two different worlds. Here stands Parliament, rebuilt in the mid-19th century after a fire destroyed the old palace. Its Gothic revival design and iconic clock tower became symbols of power and imperial ambition. Inside, laws were debated and passed, impacting not only England, but also distant colonies. Nearby are gentlemen's clubs, grand townhouses, and government offices. Horse-drawn carriages run on wide, well-maintained streets. The air is cleaner. Buildings are tall and ornate, many constructed of stone instead of brick. All of this shows that 19th century London was divided by class and geography, and this division is evident in every street. Movement. Streets are like blood vessels, but they are congested. Victorian London was defined by movement. The city was always in motion, and the transport system struggled to keep up. A crowded street was filled with horse-drawn buses, wagons, private cars, and pedestrians all vying for every inch of space. Traffic jams were severe, especially on main routes and bridges. Crossing the river alone could take an hour during rush hour. Horse-drawn buses became the primary form of public transport. Slow, bumpy, crowded, but cheap and frequent. Later, the Underground Railway began to ease the pressure. But for much of the 19th century, London's streets remained a kind of organized chaos, both impressive and overwhelming. East End, the price of wealth. And this is the East End, one of the poorest districts, where overcrowding, poverty, and poor sanitation shape the lives of tens of thousands. Families live in cramped, poorly ventilated rooms. Work is erratic and low-paying. Children work alongside adults in workshops and factories, or wander the streets selling goods. Clean water is scarce, and disease lurks everywhere. But these things are not hidden. Reformers, journalists, and social investigators document them extensively, and pressure for change mounts. Public health, housing, and labor protection reforms begin to emerge, albeit slowly and unevenly. The East End is not separate from London. It is connected to the rest by labor, commerce, and close proximity. And the wealth of Westminster depends on the work that takes place here on streets rarely frequented by the elite. Looking back at these images, we see that modern London was forged in the 19th century. Infrastructure, inequality, global connectivity all took shape during that period. If you'd like to recreate a different city, a different era, please leave a comment.